Those are amazing nails.
Thank you. Can you tell my mom? She keep making me like, I need you to cut your nails off. I'm like, why would I do that?
Oh, they're incredible.
Thank you. All of your protagonists, they always have to deal with the results of a big decision that they've had to make. But I like that we sit with the consequences more in this compared to like Oppenheimer. I wanted to know, why was this the best fit to be able to have the audience go on their journey with Odysseus?
Well, I mean, I think that's a really interesting question. I think partly coming out of Oppenheimer, as you say, it's something we deal with somewhat in that film. But I'm always left at the end of every film, if I've done my job right, I'm left with questions and things I want to kind of explore further. And I hadn't really thought of it in those terms, but I think, taking a character as complicated as Odysseus, who goes through as much as he goes through, and his involvement with a very violent world and having to do things that are necessary, but perhaps questioning the ethics, the morality of that. We follow him on his journey, and it's a testament, I think, to Matt as a performer and actor. He's able to take the audience into this dilemma and really, live with it and examine with it and sit with it. And, for me, if you can try and craft an entertaining movie, a movie that really takes the audience on a ride, but hopefully has a little validity, a little depth to the dilemmas that it presents, then maybe you do get to sit with that a little longer, and maybe it carries with you or resonates when you've finished the film.
I think also too, watching Helen's story, it almost made me feel bad because we talk about this big war of Troy, but we never talk about really the guilt that Helen would have, that all of this monstrosity would be in her name. Yeah. And I really wanted you to talk about the importance of, even in that just one line of her, tell them I'm sorry.
I'm really glad you picked up on that in particular, because that was a line that Lupita and I really put together on the day, actually, as closure for her in the story. It felt like all of the things that she's able to bring to the character, and all the ways in which we're starting to examine, what would her place in the world be after having been the cause or being blamed for, this extraordinary civilization-changing event of the War of Troy. And that's the joy of working with a really brilliant actress like Lupita, that, you were talking about these things and discussing it, and I was able to kind of craft a little bit of something for her to say, to speak to that, to the guilt that person would carry, and for the way in which she's been used to project. Everyone's projecting onto her their own sense of guilt, or their own sense of what caused the war, and she's the ultimate scapegoat in some senses. And like, what would it be? Lupita was able to say, what would it be to carry that?
Yeah, it made me feel bad. I was like, I wasn't even there. I was like, oh my goodness. But I have to talk about just having like the Killy camera, like the blimp to like keep the sound. I feel like, I know it's such a huge feat to like film this entire film at IMAX, but because there's so many close-up shots, there's a lot of monologues. I really want you to talk about that process, working with the engineers, working with the IMAX team to really help bring that to life. Because I was like, how is he able to do all of this and you don't hear the noise? Like, to be able to see these quiet, more tender moments, even outside of the epic battles. What was that whole process like?
Well, it was a very long process. I mean, it's something I wanted to do really since I was 16, and I first saw an IMAX film in the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. I was like, well, why can't you make a dramatic feature, an action film, an adventure film this way? Because the format is so incredible. And really, it was a challenge to the IMAX engineers. It's like, we're going to make the film of the Odyssey. That's the movie. If ever you were going to film a story completely on IMAX, this is the story to do it with. And we challenged them to come up with new cameras, to come up with new systems, a new system for encasing the cameras so that we could record intimate moments, close-ups, things. When we shot Oppenheimer, we did a lot with Cillian Murphy in terms of bringing the camera very close to his face, really looking into his eyes with that camera. And we were thrilled with the results of seeing faces shot that way, but we couldn't record the sound, so we could only use it for certain sequences. With this, we were determined to find a way to get that camera right in on the action, do the big shots that way, the action sequences, all the rest. But when we got to the quiet moments, the intimate moments, we wanted to carry on shooting that way and get people's faces, Matt Damon's face and Anne Hathaway's face, Tom Holland, these incredible actors, really see every nuance of what they're doing in this incredible resolution. It's just a beautiful way to photograph someone's face.
It was great. I was watching. I was like, how in the heck did they do so many close-up shots? Like, this is insane. But I just want to thank you so much for taking time to speak with me. I just really, really love being able to sit in Odysseus' journey and really have him deal with the consequences of war. I just really enjoyed this film. And thank you so much for taking time to speak with me. I'm just sending nothing but love and light your way. I really hope you have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So much. I appreciate it. I need to talk about Penelope because she's better than me. I don't know if I could have did it. I don't think I could have did it. But that's why I love her. But one of the things that I really love about your portrayal of her is we don't talk about just the waiting. Like, she's someone who has a country to help. She's a queen, you know, she's a mother. She's trying to make sure that she can shape the future. I want you to talk about really, really being able to like regain her agency in your portrayal in this film.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I mean, as an actor, it's funny when you're making it, you're not thinking about what the audience is going to feel or take away. But if you could, I would want it to be that exactly. So thank you so much. I think that we talked about it a lot, you know, on set about how Penelope and Odysseus were very aware that in the time in which they lived, time of arranged marriages, a time where, you know, love matches were kind of quaint. It was really all about politics. That they actually had a soul connection, that they actually did love each other, that they actually did the things that I think we in modern times really think that love is, you know, they make each other better, they make each other braver, they listen to each other, they hold each other, they see each other. And so I feel like, you know, for her, I don't know if it's as much reclaiming her agency as it is honoring the self that she knows that she is, and the self that's safe with him, that's not safe to be with anybody else. And I think by the end of her life, she's just really ready to actually be herself. And I think that she's kind of, she's ready to be alive just because she is.
I love the self-possession that she has. She's very much in tune with who she wants to be.
Yeah.
I really love that.
Yeah.
But I love it with you, like outside of the epic battles that we get to see in this film, I really love that this version is more so about the burden of what it takes to be a leader, of playing somebody who has a psychological burden of what happens when we see humanity for what it really is. Mm-hmm. And I really want you to talk about really adding that piece of it to Odysseus, because I think that's the piece that we're missing right now.
Yeah, that's a great question. It is a lot about, the first time I read the script, I actually said to Chris, wow, this traffics in a lot of the same themes as Oppenheimer. You know, somebody living with the consequences of his ingenuity. And, you know, the world is plunged into 400 years of darkness right after this. And he's very much living with his contribution to that and what he's done in an effort to win the war, in an effort to get home, and without giving too much away, the film is very much about let's just say the moment he gets home, he knows he has to face his wife, and what that means, and so he's a conflicted character and a really interesting one to play.
But I think what I love about that, because we always see coming home as like this happy celebration, but I think a lot of times when you leave and you go on your journeys, like you have to become different.
Right.
Like it's okay to change. And I want to know for you, like even being actors, how do you embrace that change, like the continuous change of who you have to become to embody all of these different characters?
You know, it's maybe the revisionist history is the only things that you change from are the good things.
Wow.
And it's impossible. Maybe some people have pulled it off. I certainly haven't. To have like a perfect batting average. You know, you sign up for a film, everybody always has the highest hopes, and sometimes it comes out and it's not at all what you thought. And I think the important thing is to become resilient and learn how to figure out, okay, but I was here for a reason. Where's the gold? Where's the gold here? And it's a lot easier to do when the project goes great. You know, but when it doesn't, you just go, okay, where's the gold? What did I learn? Who were my people? And you just kind of go, okay, leave everything else, take the lessons, keep the people, and then take a step forward.
Yeah, success doesn't teach you anything.
It's enjoyable though.
It's enjoyable.
It's so, and that's the thing is like enough failures. You're just like, wow, this one's going good. Okay, I'm just gonna
talking to
not
Clint
gonna
Eastwood
get
about
in the
this
way.
a long time ago, and I asked him.
Sorry, who did you speak with?
Clint Eastwood.
Oh, Clint Eastwood.
And I asked him, and he said, yeah. He said, some of the movies I've made, people say are masterpieces, and some people say are terrible. And he goes, I know why I made every single one of them, and I know exactly where I was in my life. And he said, and I love them equally. And it's kind of what you're saying. It's that, you get lessons. You can't none of us got here into this room without everything that came before it, so you gotta own and celebrate that and keep trying to do the best you can.
Everything I've ever heard about Clint Eastwood has always made me like him more.
Oh, he's unbelievable.
I mean,
amazing.
it's just like, he's just one of those people that the next year you're like, really? That too? Wow. Gosh.
Look, I just want to thank y'all so much. Thank you so. I just love the version of this. It really took me to therapy watching it. Just really having to sit with like the emotional cost of being the ones who survived. Wow. So I just want to thank you for your performances and just thank you for speaking with me today. I really appreciate you. Sending nothing but love and light both your way.
Thank you so much.
You just
Thank
brought
you
so much to
much.
this. Thank you so much, and thank you for giving us your interpretation of it.
Y'all took
That's
me through it
beautiful.
last night. You really did. The last 30 minutes was a lot.
Yeah.
I was most interested with both of your characters because I think a lot of times when we think of legends, when we think of people who have been written down in history, like we think about what they were remembered for. But I think as we see through both of your portrayals of them, they're given humanity, And I really wanted you to talk about being able to reclaim your own narratives while playing these characters.
Yeah, that's what I loved about what Chris did with this story. This is a very well-known story. It is the story from which so many other stories are born. And what he has done is take the story we know and look between the lines and present the subtext, the context that we may have missed otherwise. And chief among those things is the cost of war, right? And so when playing these characters, it's like, yes, we know Helen, she was the most beautiful, she's supposed to have started the war. She's the reason why the war started. But what is it like to live in that body? What is it like to live with that responsibility? And what is it like to live beyond the war? What happens after the war has been fought and won? And we meet these characters and we get a glimpse into that life, which is a lot more storied than what we know of their story. So it was rich. It was not. There's an easier way to tell this tale. There's a more. There's a glitzier way to tell this tale, but Chris is a filmmaker who's really interested in investigating the human condition, and so he really zooms in on moments that we get to see with new eyes.
And I think also too, it's interesting to see your characters together because it feels like there's a weight of guilt or shame that they're battling.
Thank you.
And I want you to talk about framing a relationship where kind of their consequences or the actions of others have pretty much determined their life and where we meet them in the film.
Guilt and shame, that's the whole thing. What you were saying about the cost of war, I think that's right. I think that it would have been, I don't mean to just completely attempt to echo what Lupita said, but you could hide behind the epic nature of this story. You could hide behind it and just express it in its grandeur. And what I appreciate about this is this is an epic movie. The scale of it, the scope of it is epic. But then you get down to the nitty-gritty nooks and crannies of the shame, the guilt, the hatred, the betrayal, the remorse, the survivor's guilt. These two people sitting next to each other is not. We've heard the story that they went to war, over this situation, but now they're sitting at dinner next to each other like they do night after night after night in this public forum, and Chris demanding that we get into in this very limited bit of time. What is that? What is that like day after day? What are the different feelings that you feel? and let's make it ugly. Let's make it real. Let's make it human. How many marriages right now are people sitting next to each other, where they should be loving each other, but they hate each other, and really dive into this thing that makes it really relatable and human. And what a privilege to be able to do that with this epic story told with this epic scale, but to get into such sort of granular, authentic, human base feelings.
Yeah, because it made me feel like, damn, like, am I like complicit? Like, have we been like carrying on this story without thinking like, well, how did Helen feel?
Yeah.
Is this what she wanted? So I love the scene of what she tell them I'm sorry for what I've done, I just want to thank y'all so much. This movie was so deep. I really hope that people go as deep as I did with it, because I really enjoyed that, but I loved your performance. I just want to thank you so much for taking time to speak with me. I'm just sending nothing but love and light both your ways.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate
Thank
y'all
you.
so
Appreciate
much.
you.
Thank you for
Appreciate you.
receiving it.
Look, I loved it. It took me through it, okay?
Take care.
I feel like both of your characters, they have this huge responsibility, but they don't have the authority to really make that final like action call to set everything into place. I wanted you to talk about really showing like how your characters drive a lot of the story, but they still have to wait on somebody else to do what they need to do to make it to come to fruition.
It's an interesting one with Eurylochus and Odysseus, because he is completely enthralled to him and being led by Odysseus, but the doubt just every step of the way, it just ramps up. Like every decision he makes ends up being the wrong decision and at the cost of lives. So at some point Eurylochus is going to have to take that step, but it's heartbreaking for him. He doesn't want to do that, and he doesn't want to defy his king, but at the end of the day he's got lives to protect, and it's clear that the things aren't going the way that they should. But it doesn't come from a sort of ego, a frustrated ego that I want to be in charge and I know what's best. It's that this isn't working. I'm going to have to take the reins here for the safety of my own men. Yeah.
I mean, I don't really question the authority, because he's like my son, my surrogate son in the movie, and I'm, in that era, you were a servant and you gave everything up for your boss, and so he's the boss, my son, and I take care of his son and teach him about his father, Telemachus, and I take care of the dog who's trying to stay alive till his boss comes back, 20-year-old dog, and I'm all in. I'm just waiting and hoping that Odysseus comes back, and that's my belief that I got to hold on to, because otherwise my life has no meaning.
But I like that it made me question like who the real heroes are.
Right.
In the story, because I feel like to have unwavering faith,
Yes.
it takes so much, especially when you feel everything crumbling around him. And then even with you, to see someone who you held in such high regard to continue to make mistakes and become kind of less of the man that they knew that they were. I wanted to know, like, what did that teach you about really being able to have faith, but to have unwavering faith, to know that the decisions that you're making is for a higher purpose?
Well, Eumaeus is the most loyal character in Western literature, the character that I'm playing. And so I leaned into that. And so Odysseus must have been a great boss, you know what I mean? He must have been a great guy who respected you, who treated you with kindness, because otherwise I wouldn't have that incredible loyalty. So it's a tit for tat kind of thing.
And then how about even, I love like the battle scenes. I want to know like how was it being able to film that? Because I was just like, you guys went through so much, the water, the land, like.
Yeah, we did it all. Yeah, it was fun doing that. I mean, the Troy sequence specifically, we all got to get into it a little bit with that, and you got an amazing stunt team.
Oh, wow.
Insane. The guy's amazing, and his whole team. We always felt completely supported and safe. Sometimes they would have to improvise quickly because the situation was just such that whatever we planned maybe doesn't quite work, and they were just on it every time, and we all got to have a little moment, where we take someone down. But it was also interesting because we were never glorifying that, and to be honest, the heart of the story is about the cost of that. So it was kind of fun to learn the techniques, but Chris is never someone who's like, yeah, this is gonna look cool. It's like it's gonna look real. It's gonna look raw, and you're gonna see the cost of it.
look, because I was tired. I was like, honey, get them off that boat. Get them home. Like, we got to do something.
You got to get them back somehow. Get GPS.
Okay? Like, they was taking me through. I was like, I'm hungry now. They ain't got no food now. I'm hungry.
Right.
It's too much. I want to thank y'all so much for taking time to speak with me. Thank you for just being a part of this awesome movie. It was so
Awesome.
good.
Thank you.
And I just sending so much love in like both your ways. I really
Oh,
hope
thank
you
you,
have a great
thank you.
day. Thank you so
Sending
much.
back to you as well.
I receive it, okay?
Oh, good, good.
Thank
Please,
you.
please do.